Welcome to the Midnight Gathering with Nancy Nightmare
and the Wizard.
Join us where the bizarre,
the mysterious, and the macabre meet.
And welcome to another episode, everyone.
Welcome, everyone.
We're excited to be here and be talking about one of our favorite 80s films.
Absolutely.
With one of my favorite actors, Jeffrey Combs, who has been in a ton of Star Trek, unrelated to this, of course. But why don't you tell us about what we're going to be talking about?
Why, sure. Science is great until it's in the hands of an unhinged medical student with a syringe full of neon green liquid. Welcome to Re-Animator, a film that takes a classic Frankenstein trope and cranks it up to 11. Directed by Stuart Gordon, this cult classic blends over-the-top gore with dark comedy, proving that just because you can bring back the dead doesn't mean you should.
We're gonna wake the dead.
I like how you brought it back to our music.
I always do, don't I?
Yep.
Sell, 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 baby.
Yep.
So this one's from 1985. Obviously, I didn't see it in 1985. And don't say I look old enough to, because that's mean.
Yep.
I mean, that's okay if you did, but I did not see it in 85.
Now, this is a very unique movie. I feel like it's cousins with Evil Dead 2 and Return of the Living Dead in that same cult classic style.
Especially with the special effects.
Absolutely.
Well, if you haven't seen Re-Animator in a while, let's get into a little synopsis of it just so we can all be on the same page.
Take us away, Nancy Nightmare.
All right. Herbert West is a brilliant but wildly unethical medical student who transfers to Miskatonic University after his experiments in Switzerland go sideways. West is convinced he has discovered a serum that brings the dead back to life, but with a slight problem. The reanimated corpses tend to come back violently deranged.
West quickly ropes in his new roommate, Dan Kane, into his experiments, using the school's morgue as a testing ground. Things escalate when their reanimated test subjects start attacking, and when West's rival, Dr. Carl Hill, gets involved, things get even worse. Hill, a creepy professor with an obsession for Dan's girlfriend Megan, tries to steal West's work, only to promptly be decapitated. Unfortunately, thanks to West's serum, that doesn't stop Hill from becoming a talking, reanimated severed head with an army of undead corpses at his command.
Yeah, who doesn't want an army of undead corpses at their command? What follows is pure chaotic carnage, ending in a morgue full of rampaging zombies, a lot of screaming, and Herbert West being dragged into the darkness by his own failed experiments.
I love how this movie starts out with Herbert West's failed experiments at the first university that he was at.
In Switzerland, right? In
Switzerland, yeah.
Yeah, and well, he just, for a brilliant man, he keeps repeating the same actions and expecting different results. Yep. Although he would say that the bodies just weren't fresh enough.
That's right.
It's a valid hypothesis, right? But when he's starting to see that it still does the same thing on fresh corpses, maybe it's the serum, bro.
Right, but, he's still trying to figure out dosages. He's trying to figure out how long the body's been dead for in order to him effectively reanimate his dead corpses.
Yeah, well, not the best roommate. What a weirdo.
Absolutely.
That's not somebody I'd want to live with, although he did pay in cash up front, so I can see why Dan was tempted to just take the money and run.
Right. Well, because we also see Dan in the opening scenes trying to resuscitate somebody in the hospital, so he is also of the same mindset, given if there was a way to bring back people from the dead, that he's certainly on board.
Right. That's right. He's got that do-gooder gene.
Absolutely.
It won't let him give up. And Herbert West has this narcissistic need to control life and death.
Yeah.
And he's so close.
Yeah. He's like the epitome of fake it till you make it. His confidence is through the roof throughout the entire film.
It is. That's a really good point. Although he can reanimate the dead. I mean, it doesn't work out exactly like he wants it to, but That's a pretty powerful thing to be able to do.
Yeah. Part of the research by the producer and the director of the film was to visit several morgues in town to see what dead bodies look like.
Really? Well, that would be an interesting little field trip.
Indeed, it would be.
Do you think our local morgue would let me show up and just see what the dead bodies look like?
You never know until you ask.
That's true. You
don't
never
ask,
know.
You don't get.
That's a good point. Maybe I can manifest that for my birthday or something.
For sure. Let's talk about the practical effects, gross, gory, and glorious. One of Re-Animator's greatest strengths is its practical effects. This film doesn't hold back. When things get messy, they get really messy. The reanimated corpses are grotesque, twitching and oozing with enough detail to make even the most seasoned horror fan wince.
The standout effect? Dr. Hill's severed head. It's somehow both disturbing and hilarious, with Hill's body carrying his head around like a demented puppet. The fact that the effect still holds up decades later speaks volumes about how well the film was made.
Everything here is tactile and visceral. From the glowing green serum to the blood-soaked chaos in the morgue. It's a reminder why practical horror effects just hit different compared to modern CGI, and that's the truth.
I do have to say my favorite practical effect in this is the cat.
The cat.
Normally, a cat death scene would make me turn a film off.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a big fan of that website, doesthedogdie.com. And so every time I go into a movie that we're watching and I see a pet, I have to look it up to see what happens to the pet before I know whether I can emotionally handle the film or not.
Right, and the cat kind of looks like a dead toupee.
Well, that's what makes this so great, is that the worst practical effect in this film is that cat doll.
Yep.
And I almost wonder, did they make it so bad on purpose so that scene became funny instead of upsetting?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was intentional.
That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe they were just limited to what they had at the time.
But to see Jeffrey Combs, a phenomenal actor, make it work, hold that stupid-looking cat doll, and make it look like it's attacking him is my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah. The thing that the film does is that every so often it breaks the tension because there's so much like goo and pus everywhere that it breaks the tension with these comedic moments where, say, the cat's attached to Herbert West's back and he's trying to fight it off.
Right. I think the technical term in the film industry, because I am a film pro now, is that it's very icky.
Very icky indeed.
The film is very icky.
Yeah. I can't remember how many gallons of pseudo blood they used, but apparently everybody on the staff were covered with like plastic because the stuff was just everywhere.
Wow. Yeah. It looks like to me, it looks like they had fun making the film.
Yeah.
But I'm sure being just covered in fake blood for weeks or months at a time is not that much fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Why Re-Animator still rules today. There's a reason Re-Animator has endured as a cult classic. It's not just a gore fest. It's a perfectly balanced blend of horror and absurdity. The film never takes itself too seriously, but it also doesn't fully lean into parody. Instead, it walks a fine line between legitimate horror film and complete insanity, making it one of the most entertaining horror movies of the 80s.
Yep. It's definitely unique and a trailblazer in terms of films.
It absolutely is.
It also set the standard for horror comedy hybrids. Without Re-Animator, we might not have films like The Evil Dead 2 or Shaun of the Dead.
And let's be honest, Herbert West is one of the most quotable horror characters ever. From his snarky one-liners to his sheer refusal to admit when something is a bad idea, he's the ultimate horror anti-hero.
Oh, yeah.
You do kind of end up, at least I did, I ended up rooting for him quite a bit.
Really?
Yeah, he's got a vision, he works hard, he's highly intelligent.
Yeah, and somehow the villain, Dr. Hill became the villain in the story, right?
Right.
From that scene where he's
a creeper, certified creeper.
Yeah, his head severed from his body, and then he reanimates him. He's not sure of the dosage.
You know, I'm thinking of the tongue, right?
Yeah. It's kind of a controversial bit.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't read much about what people think of things.
Well, I mean, it was of its time. So.
Oh, right. Yeah, Herbert West, it's hard for me because I mention this often. I'm a very big Star Trek fan. So my feelings for Jeffrey Combs, because of all the wonderful characters he's played in Star Trek, even the villainous characters, I have such warm feelings for him that as Herbert West, I just am built to love the character.
Oh, yeah.
So it's hard for me to be mad at him, even when he's,
Yeah, and you believe him. You believe that he's a medical student. You believe all the characters in this film,
Yeah, that's true. A lot of great actors in this film. We've got Barbara Crampton as Megan.
Yep.
We've got, like I said, Jeffrey Combs as Herbert West, Bruce Abbott as Dan Kane, and David Gale as Dr. Carl Hill.
Yep.
So, and the supporting cast is excellent, too. I also love the security guard. I didn't write his name down, the actor, but he's one of the few intelligent people in a horror movie because when he sees shit hits the fan, he just runs.
Yeah, he's out of there.
He says, fuck this. I am out of here. Oh, there goes my resolution to swear less on the podcast. But in this case, it's appropriate.
Yeah, that one scene where he peers in and then he runs out is
he just wants
so
to
funny.
sit and read his mag.
Yep.
Easy job. Like he said, the corpses don't make a lot of noise. He's had a great run so far. And then all of a sudden, Herbert West shows up with Dan and ruined his good, easy job. But at least he had the sense to get the hell out of there.
Absolutely.
So you got to know when to leave a situation, and he did.
You know it.
He saved himself.
Re-Animator is pure, glorious chaos. It's the kind of movie that grabs you by the throat, injects you with green fluid, and demands you pay attention. Whether you're here for the outrageous practical effects, the dark humor, or Jeffrey Combs going full mad scientist, this film delivers.
It's messy, it's weird, and it absolutely deserves its place as one of the best cult horror films of all time. Re-Animator reminds us that science is amazing until your severed head starts talking back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you had mentioned something about the music kind of sounding similar to things like Halloween.
You know, I noticed a kind of correlation between Danny Elfman's sound and some colors that looked similar to Beetlejuice. So I just wonder if this film offered some inspiration for that as far as soundtrack, color use.
Right.
You know, nothing directly taken from it. It just, especially the soundtrack, had a lot of similarity to my ear.
Yeah, and that was 3 years before Beetlejuice.
Right. So I would imagine that everything has an influence on things that come after it.
Yeah.
So that was just something I caught. But what a fun movie. We watched this over and over again.
Yeah, this is a great, great movie. It's so unique.
Yeah.
The acting is top notch.
It is.
So now in terms of horror movie for a newbie, where would you rank this one?
Oh, well, when I started watching horror, this one was one of my favorites immediately. So I don't know. Are you talking scares or just fun or what?
Well, if somebody was new to horror, where would you place this one as one to watch? Is it top 5?
Oh,
top
it's
10?
top 20. I would say this is top 20. If you're looking for something that's semi-comedic, that has some great gore and practical effects, it's not too serious, has great acting. Now, top 20 is pretty good when you consider how many horror movies are out there.
Yeah, especially in that time.
Oh, yeah. I feel that we would almost have to break it down by decade, though, if we were to recommend movies for people to start their horror journey on.
Oh, that might be an idea.
Yeah, it might be a fun idea to put a list together.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's just our opinion, man.
Yeah.
You know?
But I think this is the film that launched Jeffrey Combs' career, as well as Barbara Crampton.
Right. Oh, and I forget that I should have written the name down, but there was actually a person who worked on this who ended up working on Star Trek, and I realized, that's where they found Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah.
He must have worked with him on this film, and then when they needed somebody to put on the full makeup and do some crazy stuff, they said, that guy can do it.
And this film was very influential because it spurred 2 additional films after the fact.
Yeah.
So, and then Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton went on to do the Beyond.
That's right. Yep. Yeah, that's a great movie too.
Yep.
Dr. Hill, though, now that I think about it, you mentioned that he's really the villain. And I hadn't thought of that before because obviously you think of Herbert West as the villain.
Yeah.
But Hill really is the villain. And his creepiness towards Megan.
Yeah. Now, I don't know how true this is, but according to Horror Geek on YouTube, he was saying that David Gale's wife saw that scene with Barbara Crampton, and that was enough for her to leave him.
That was the final straw?
I don't know how true that is, but maybe it is.
Oh, I would not love that.
Yeah.
But, when you're married to an actor, you probably have to deal with a lot of that stuff.
Right.
But,
yeah. And he's like super insidious and creepy in that scene.
He did a good job in that scene.
When he proclaims to her that he's always admired her.
Just the way he said the word admired made me a little nauseous, more than the kill scenes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a creeper for sure. So I just want to mention that you are being a real trooper this week because you have been sick.
Yep, that is true. Unfortunately, I've been very sick for the last 2 days.
Yeah. So, and you rarely get sick as a wizard, of course.
Yeah.
He rarely gets sick.
Yeah. So if I sound a little congested, I apologize.
Yeah. You sound pretty good, actually.
Thank you.
You're holding it together quite nicely.
Yeah. Well, this film I really wanted to do because I think it's a excellent movie.
Yeah.
Great acting, great special effects, plenty of gore for those who are into that kind of stuff. There's zombies, mad scientists.
Right. I mentioned my favorite kill is unbelievably the cat scene.
Yep.
What are some of your favorite scenes?
Some of the scenes. Well, the reanimated bodybuilder, apparently, again, according to Horror Geek, the actor that played that character was a stunt double for Arnold Schwarzenegger throughout the 1980s.
Oh, that's a wonderful fact. I didn't know that. That's so funny. Yeah, some of the bravery it takes to be totally naked on film like that. Some of those scenes, I'm just like, I can't believe this actress or actor is just letting it all hang out and flop around.
Yeah. And this is how like crazy the 1980s is, that her dad gets turned into a zombie, grabs her, throws her on the slab, rips off her clothes, and then lets Dr. Hill have his way with her.
Well, obviously he wasn't himself.
Right.
You know.
Until Herbert West steps in.
Right. The hero.
The hero. A mad scientist.
Not the hero at all.
He's like, oh shit.
Yeah, poor Dan. Dan was just such a easily manipulated partner in all this.
Yeah.
You know, he was so close to having a good medical career and a hot girlfriend, and everything just went to shit for him.
Yeah. It's usually how it goes with cults, right? You've got one maniacal leader who's pushing the boundaries, and then you've got true blue believers just following along, and all kind of chaos ensues.
This is very cult-like. You're right. He is a very good cult leader.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Especially if you're somebody who's an academic and you're trying to make breakthroughs in your field, especially when you're trying to resuscitate human beings. I mean, that's what we're all searching for, right? Eternal youth.
Well, I think, yes, I think maybe not coming back in the way that they did, right? But people always answer this question differently, like if you'd want to live forever. I see a lot of people online saying, no, I would never want to live forever. Everybody I love would die and I'd get bored. And I don't know. I think I would do okay.
Right.
I mean, not that, I would miss everyone for sure.
Right, of course.
But I am basically somebody who enjoys my own company quite a bit. I would read a lot of books. I'd learn languages. I would travel.
Yeah.
But then you have to think about it that when the planet finally does go up in a ball of human idiocy or nuclear war or whatever happens, however we annihilate ourselves or are annihilated, you're going to be there.
Right.
And you're going to, if you live forever, you're going to survive that.
Sure.
Just floating through space, still alive. So.
Yeah. So Herbert was kind of going through a rough patch with his experiments.
You really don't.
And, like he's on his way. We've got to, I mean, I'm sure like when the Wright brothers were testing flight for the first time, it was a lot of, false starts and take one step forward, two steps back scenario. So.
Yeah. And opposites do attract.
Yep.
Old joke. Sorry. Yeah. Any great venture you embark upon, whether it's starting a podcast or writing an album or creating Re-Animation solution.
Yep,
you're going to hit some stumbling blocks. Yeah. You're going to have to keep trying until you get better and better. And eventually you're going to reanimate that corpse.
Absolutely. So Herbert West, you keep on trucking.
We salute you. Don't give up. Ow. Just hurt myself.
Don't worry, we can reanimate you if something were to catastrophically happen to you.
I was looking up how to make the Re-Animation solution. It's just glow stick juice, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know where. I think you can actually buy glow stick juice in bulk. I was looking into that because I think it'd be really cool to make some syringes,
Yeah. It's funny. There was a band in the 90s that used green slime as advertisement for their CD. This was the band Morbid Angel. And apparently when the stuff was getting ready to get shipped out, the employees didn't want to touch it. And what the foreman was like, no, you guys have to like hurry up and get this done. And apparently some of the serum got like on a shirt or something. It burned like a massive hole through it. So they immediately stopped and canceled all of the slime that was being sent out in the CDs.
I feel like fun things like that don't happen anymore.
Yeah.
Everything's digital. Everybody's afraid of getting sued.
Yeah. So
you don't try things like that.
Yeah. Well,
maybe we should.
Maybe we should send out some slime.
Yeah, we should do something reckless.
Yeah.
I mean.
Very H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Which this is a loose adaptation of.
Yeah, I love this film. It's kind of a short film. I think it's like an hour and a half, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's an easy watch.
It gets right into it.
Right into it. Great for a burned out attention span.
Yeah.
Lots of violence happening quickly and boobs.
Great acting.
Hit him with the sex, then hit him with the violence.
Yeah. Excellent cinematography as well.
Or that. Whatever makes you pay attention, I guess.
Yeah.
For some of us, it's boobs and violence.
Well, there you go. It's totally 80s.
Maybe that's what I should have called this podcast. Boobs and violence.
Yeah.
With Nancy Nightmare and the Wizard.
Yeah.
That'll get him. Maybe that's what we should call our next album.
Yep.
Right? Reel them in.
Yep.
Well, I think that's all I have to say about Re-Animator for this week.
Yeah, if you haven't watched it, definitely watch this film. It is a classic.
Yeah. I also, I know this isn't like a sci-fi or TV podcast, but I also want to say that if you haven't seen Jeffrey Combs as Wei-Un on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, that is the character to watch. He is creepy. He is unrepentant about it. Phenomenal show. So if you really want to get a good dose of him, I think he comes in around season 5 with the Dominion War and such. He just glazed over. If you glazed over, I apologize too. But if you might be into it, check it out because if you like his acting here, you'll love him there.
Yeah. Or you can watch The Beyond.
Yeah, I know. You can watch another horror movie. I'm equal parts sci-fi and horror, really, in my heart. So
yeah, I think a lot of us are.
Yeah, one geek experience is as good as the next for me.
Oh, for sure. I mean, horror geeks are not quite in the same way, but some of them are very, very technical about their movies and really know the films inside and out.
Oh, for sure. Way more technical than I am. I'm still learning some of this stuff.
Yeah, and what's interesting is I don't think a lot of these directors necessarily were hoping to break into horror. It's like they did it, and then they made a name for themselves, and then once they made a name for themselves, that's kind of where Hollywood held them. So same thing with Carpenter, same thing with, I think, Stuart Gordon as well.
I wonder if some of the actors were afraid of getting pigeonholed when they did films like this.
Yeah, I know George Romero talks about that.
I mean, Barbara Crampton is a phenomenal actress, and we all know her name.
Yeah.
But I wonder if she ever had aspirations outside of horror.
Right.
Although I probably haven't looked up everything else she's done. Maybe she's done things outside of horror too.
Yeah.
But when you're such a absolute star in one genre, I mean, I would just be happy to be there.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I feel like in 2025, horror started getting its due. Like people started to take a look at a lot of these films and say, these are great stories, that it's not another Marvel movie.
This has been a great time for women in horror, too. Look at The Substance.
Yeah.
Demi Moore getting her due. And I think it's a really exciting time where we're crossing boundaries in genre.
Absolutely.
So I can't wait to see what else comes out.
Yeah.
And we hope you'll meet us again at the Midnight Gathering. Until next time, stay spooky.